Welcome to Entrepreneurial Genius, the podcast where spiritually conscious entrepreneurs get a grip on their business, their health, their money, their relationships, and their life. And now, here's your host, Paul.
All right, welcome to another episode, and I am really delighted to have in this episode actually two longtime good friends and a husband and wife, and so I can't wait to talk about that dynamic. Mark Perez and Liz. Wait a minute, let me start over. Liz Perez and her better half, Mark.
Thank you.
My bad. I think in 2018 I would learn something. Right? But anyway, so right now Mark is in Chicago because they have business out there. And Liz is in Riverside, California, because they have business over there. Yeah. And so we'll talk about the dynamics of that and everything. But, you know, I know a little bit about your story, and well, I know quite a bit, actually. And it's always been fascinating to me, and I'm so happy that we've stayed in contact, you know, through the years. But just go ahead and tell our audience, you know, like, you know, where'd you come from? Where'd you come from? Where'd you come from? How'd you get there? All right? Like, first of all, tell us a little bit about you and the two of you. You know, how long you've been married, how many kids you have so far. Yeah.
You want to take this, Liz?
Sure.
There's strategy number one, men. Defer to your women.
Yes, thank you. What a gentleman. So Mark and I, we met when we were 16 years old. We've been together ever since. We got married right after high school. We were 18 years old. Crazy as we were in love, and, you know, we got married, not knowing any better. I think that's been really the key to our success, is that, you know, we just go into things blindly and just, you know, have faith in each other and hope that everything's going to work out just fine. And we've gotten this far. We have now been married for 19 years.
Wow.
And we have 5 kids.
Liz, you messed up on the years we've been married. We've been married 20 years. So
19.
20.
Oh my God, you're right.
Okay, there's a point for Mark. That's a point for Mark. I got to tell you.
That's a big point.
So right. It's been 20 years. Oh my God, that means I'm a year older than I thought. But yes. Wow. Oh my God, you're right. 20 years. We just celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary. You're right. I'm sorry, babe. My bad.
It's all right. You're gonna have to make it up some way.
Yeah, but you know how this works, right? Today, you like that's a great point.
Exactly.
Today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, tomorrow, it's gone.
Yeah.
New slate.
I gotta bask in my victory today.
Exactly.
It's not gonna last, so enjoy it.
Okay, 20 years. Good, congratulations. Way to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's saying a lot these days, you know. To tell you the truth.
And it's like it is saying a lot these days, and it's saying a lot for us as well, because we've been through so much and during our journey. You know, 20 years sounds like a really long time, but it's happened really in the blink of an eye. We've been through so much and we've experienced so much together that I think we've kind of grown and just molded into the same person. And I think that's part of the reason why the dynamic between us works so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. What did you do like for money when you first got married?
Oh my God. Mark started originally, the first thing he did was he started working with my dad.
Uh-huh.
My dad worked at I don't know, babe, what was it?
They would manufacture aluminum parts, but I was there for a long 3 months. And then I went into construction. So I did construction. I was in construction for 5 years, and it was fun. It was very, it was tiring on your body. It was very demanding of your body, but it was fun. I learned a lot, had a lot of really good experiences. And then I figured, you know, wanted to jump into something different. And we ended up buying our first house when her and I were 21 years old. And we bought a condo And that's kind of what opened my eyes. Well, actually, what opened our eyes, both of our eyes, to real estate. And the realtor who helped us purchase the property offered Liz a job. And so Liz was working as her assistant for, I think it was 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So in that 6 months, Liz got to see what a realtor does and what a loan officer does and the inner workings of, what a real estate transaction is all about. Because even though we had bought a house, I still didn't know anything what went on. All they told me was sign these papers, deposit the money, and boom, there you go. You have a house. So I didn't understand all the intricate details that go into a real estate transaction. So as I was trying to figure out what else I wanted to do besides the construction world, that Liz started telling me a little bit more about what real estate agents do and then what a loan officer did. So I gravitated towards being a loan officer. I thought that was going to be a little bit more challenging for me. I like the dynamics from what she told me, what the loan officer did. And so I took my real estate principles and, said my goodbyes to the construction world and the company and just didn't look back and started doing real estate residential mortgage loans back in 2000. I think it was in 2004. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you were in the mortgage business, right?
Yeah.
So, and by the way, just for our viewers, I assume that everybody knows who you are, but I'm sure that there might be one or two people who don't, right? So
maybe
forgive me for the poor introduction, but Mark and Liz, experienced real estate investors, have 2 TV shows, or one, and you're working on another one. You can tell us about that in a minute, but been on TV, been in the real estate education business, flipped zillions of houses and done, just like really experienced, savvy real estate investors. And so, okay, that we'll get more into that right there. Pardon my poor introduction, but you were in the mortgage business. You were writing mortgages, huh? In 04?
Yeah. So unknowingly, I got into the real estate business at the start of the whole real estate boom. And so things started to take off. We were doing really well. And, I was, at that time, I was doing really well. The real estate market was booming. We were doing tons of loans back then. And so I was making a decent enough money for us to live comfortably. And then Liz could stay home and be a stay-at-home mom and enjoy the kids and raising our kids. So
to 2 kids awesome. By this time.
Yeah, 2 kids by this time. And life was awesome. We were in our early 20s and life was good. We were making a lot more money than the rest of our friends were. So we were on top of the world back then. And we hadn't really gone in through any, I should say, any type of real challenges. We went into little challenges here and there, but nothing to really mold us. And life was good for a few years. And what happened was back then I assumed that it would always be like that. And so we were ignorant with our finances. And so we were spending a lot of money, just living the life of luxury, just always hosting parties, had a lot of friends back then, and just did the things that somebody that never had that kind of money, just very irresponsible with that. Mm-hmm. And but then
we were financially uneducated.
Yeah.
We were 21 years old with 2 kids and a lot of friends and a really nice house and cars and a lot of materialistic things that we thought was everything that we wanted. And we were just splurging and spending money in a way that we really shouldn't have, because it all goes back to that. We were financially uneducated and we didn't have really any goals set in mind as to what we wanted to do with the amounts of money that Mark was making with, the booming real estate business at that time.
Did you grow up with or without money?
I didn't grow up with money, but my dad always provided everything we needed.
Okay.
And so it's not like, I'm not ever going to say that I grew up poor. Maybe Mark struggled with his mom struggled a little more than I did. I've always had both my parents, which was, a true blessing. And we did learn in that sense, but because, coming right out of high school, getting married, starting a family, making all this money, we didn't know what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
I like Liz said,
that's a really good point. A lot of young people watch the show,
Mm-hmm.
and I think your point there about you hadn't yet had the challenges that mold you.
Yes.
Great point. Because now you see challenges as something to learn from, and you were financially uneducated. And there's too much information in the world right now to be financially uneducated. So if you're a young person, you're watching this show, get educated, because it can build instead of go in peaks and valleys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as Liz was talking about, as far as my childhood, my mom was a single mom until I was about 12, almost 13. So we grew up very poor till I was about 12, and then 13. Life got better for us. Mom and dad got back together. And so then we became from very poor to a middle class. But still, my parents they come from humble beginnings. And so they don't have any financial education as well. So it was never taught to us. It was never presented to us. And so when Liz and I married, both her and I, we were never taught anything as far as the financial world. Anything about financing, investing was just foreign to us. We didn't even know what investing was.
And it's rolling in, and you think, it's going to keep rolling in, baby.
Exactly. We're just going to keep it going. Life's going to be awesome. I hit the jackpot, and this is awesome. And I couldn't figure out why more people weren't doing what I was doing. And, life was great. Like I said, life was great, man. We were just every day woke up with a huge smile on our head, and woke up, and back then you sneezed and you had 10 loans sitting on your desk waiting to get funded. So it was awesome.
But I hear a drum roll coming. A drum roll coming.
Drum roll's coming here.
It was coming on strong.
And back then, when the real estate market, when the bubble finally burst, for me, I had never gone through anything like that. And it was a rude awakening for both her and I, and it felt like it happened overnight. And I remember having 10 loans, and I used 10 loans because I remember the last month that we were going, I had 10 months sitting, we were waiting to fund, and it felt like one day to the next where these 10 loans that were approved, ready to fund, they were all disproved now. They weren't approved anymore. And all these loans fell apart. So there went out my income for the next month. And there I stood scratching my head thinking, okay, what's happening here? And that was the start to a big financial challenge for Liz and I, and I think it was a big turning point for her and I. So it was.
When was that? 08, 07, 08?
07.
07. And at any point did you think, okay, this month wasn't good, but next month it'll come back?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then the next month, yes.
Yeah. And I kept waiting for that month to come back, and it wasn't. So I remember when I did loans, I had a couple of clients that were flipping properties. And back then it was so easy to flip property. Anybody can do it. So these guys would go and buy houses, and they were using conventional financing. And back then it was so easy to obtain a loan. These guys were buying, what they would do is they could buy a couple houses to, maybe anywhere between 2 to 5 houses at the same time. And, they'd get them financed with different mortgage companies. And so they'd buy these houses, do a little work to them, and the market was shooting up so fast back then. In a few months, they'd go ahead and sell it and have tons of equity. And so I thought it was pretty interesting. So when times got tough and the loans weren't rolling in, I was still trying to figure it out. Went into commercial, did a little bit of commercial financing, and I did that for about close to 2 years, about a year and a half. And then that market dried up. And so then I was in trouble. And we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. At this time, Liz still wasn't working. And I told her, well, I need to figure this out. And I started trying to go into figure out how these guys were flipping properties and investing into real estate. And so I read a book. I picked up a book. I read a book by Robert Kiyosaki, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's when it opened my eyes to what real estate investing was. And it just opened up a whole nother world. And from that point on, I started picking up different books. Any book that I can get my hands on, I started reading them. And different from changing your mindset to real estate investing to a number of different things, and really start to shift the way I start to think. And so I started to try to figure this whole thing out. And back then I came across, mind you, I'm not going into the office anymore. Our world around us is crumbling. I haven't gotten any income coming in for, I would say, the last year and a half. We're behind on our mortgage payment. We're behind on our car payments. We're just, our whole world has been flipped upside down. And Liz is looking to me, and I keep telling her, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And, you know, she never pressured me into anything. And I know that she was scared, but she just trusted that we would figure it out. And so I wasn't going to sleep back then. And so I was up all night trying to figure out what the heck am I going to do? How am I going to pull us out of the situation? One of the websites I went into learned a strategy and a system on how to go and do short sales. And the strategy that they sold me on, I started to apply it. I started building a business. And back then, I had a really good friend who was a real estate agent. So I approached him and asked him told him what I was doing. And then I asked him if he wanted to be my agent. And he started working with me as my real estate agent. And I didn't know he was going through the same thing I was. But as we started to work together, we started to build that company. And as soon as we started to get it going and we were about to start closing deals on that, they changed the dynamics and the structure of how we can, and the regulations of short sales, which completely killed that business. And so it was kind of one of those things where it was a time where every time we felt we were going to start getting back on our feet, it would get, the rug would get pulled right under us and then we'd fall right back. And so it was very challenging. And there's a lot of days where you feel like throwing your hands up and like, forget this. What am I going to do? Like,
but at the same time, did you still know or feel that real estate was your way, was your path?
Yes. I knew, and that's what I told Liz. And I told Liz, I said, look, we're so deep in the hole right now that there's no way that I can go and get a 9-to-5. One, because I've done real estate and I've been an entrepreneur for the last couple of years, I can't go back to being an employee. There's no way. I wouldn't be able to accept that.
Tough.
Yeah,
tough.
It's a very tough. And I remember her family, my family, they kept, and they did it out of fear and I did it out of love and care. They kept trying to convince me to just go find a job. And I was telling them, I told them, I can't do that. I can't do that. And so Liz I congratulated Liz because she stood by me and she didn't pressure me. She continued to just have faith that I'd figure it out. And so we were living on the little bit of savings that we had at this time, and we were stretching. I don't know how we did it, but we would stretch $1 pretty thin. And we were trying to figure this out. And so, like I said, we got this business with the short sales. It got taken away from us. And so my buddy back then, who was my real estate agent, I just came to him and said, we've been working really good together. Why don't we just partner up and figure out how to just do real estate, and why don't we try to flip REOs? And back then, REOs were becoming a really big thing, and that was the primary inventory back then. So we did, and educated myself again, got some CDs and some books, try to learn the strategies from that, and try to apply whatever I had learned from those books and CDs. And we only got so far. And then him and I continued to just try at it. We ended up furthering our education in that, and then linked up with the group and just started networking, and then that just changed for us. Yeah. And this is already, by the time it started to actually work for us, it was already 2010. And so we were struggling since 2007 to 2010. By this time, we already had lost our house. We had a short sale.
How many kids did you?
We had
4 kids.
You had 4 kids by 2010.
Yes.
Short sell your house.
We short sold our house because we were pretty much at the brink of foreclosure. Mm-hmm. We got our cars repossessed. I actually ended up having to sell my car, and luckily enough, my brother-in-law was kind enough to take over payment, so he took that one. My dad had an extra car, which was a beat up old 1995 Ford Mustang that was electric blue, crashed on one side and just put it all the way down. So that
is probably a classic now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a classic in anybody's book.
Maybe the color, retro.
So it was very humbling.
Yeah.
And one of the main things is the experience that we went through. So from the time from 2007 to 2010, that was a very challenging moment for us. And I think it was a huge turning point for us. And I think that's what that time and that struggle is what made Liz and I and molded us to the people that we are today.
Nice.
We got to a point where we didn't have any money coming in, and we were feeding our kids canned foods from the pantry because we had no more money. And we would make them what we call funny sandwiches. And so we would get a can of peas or string beans and a can of corn and slap them between 2 slices of bread. And that's what we fed our kids because we had nothing else to give to them. So it was, now I look back and something we can laugh at, but oh man, it was probably the most humbling experience as a man that I could have ever gone through.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Do you want to add anything to that, Liz?
I mean,
you make a mean pea sandwich. Split pea sandwich.
It is, like honestly, like even now I see for like thanks for the holidays that are coming up, I see the canned foods, and it really does. It takes me back to that place where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe, there was a time in our lives where we were literally living off of these, cans that people shoved to the back of their pantry. But that's what was keeping us going, and, the support of our family and our friends and just each other, depending on each other. Mm-hmm. It's still really close to heart, and I honestly, like, it's hard for me to talk about it because I try to keep that with me because, like Mark said earlier, it's molded us to the people that we are now. And it's really humbling times, and I carry it with me every single day.
Mm-hmm. Well, those are your babies. Those are your babies you're feeding.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So hopefully they saw a good example that in your work ethic there and your persistence.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the turning point there? Okay. So you're 07 to 10, you lose your house and your cars, and you're making split pea sandwiches. Split pea. That's the funniest thing. So there's a turning point there. There's always a turning point in a entrepreneur success story. What was the turning point for the two of you?
The turning point for us is to make sure that we have the right education and the right mentor. Mm-hmm. If you're going to be successful in anything, you got to make sure that you have a mentor, somebody who's done it, somebody who's at a point in their life that you want to be at. And and that mentor can be a group of people, a group that you network with. It can be a person, it can be multiple people, but you need mentors in order for you to succeed. And I was trying from 2007 to about 2010. I was trying to do it on my own and trying to figure it out, and just reading books and the CDs and trying to grab whatever free information that I can get, and anything else that I can get my hands on. But not until I actually had a mentor to walk me through this is what really, I feel, what changed us.
Everything just kind of clicked. Everything made sense. Everything that was kind of there, and we had it in bits and pieces, and we knew that it was there, and we knew we had access to this and this and this. But once we got that mentor and we were able to just put everything together and see everything in a big picture, we were like, yes, this is what we've been looking for. Once, Mark found that first house and we were able to flip it and sell it and make money, we're like, oh my God, thank God, Mark, that we didn't allow people to convince us for you to go get a 9-to-5 job. And, because everything would have been completely different than what it is now had we done that back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And once that faucet was turned on, it was like, okay, there's no turning that faucet on.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was.
So then you, this is in 2010 or 2010 or so, then you started, that's when you really picked up steam. Now the economy was still, down in 2010. Yeah. So what was your strategy, and then how have you, elevated it since then? Because we're in a different economy now.
Sure. Well, and one of the things I wanted to still touch back on is during that hard time, as I said, it molds you. One of the things that it really did do for me is that it eliminated the fear of failing. A lot of people, their biggest fear is failing, and they look at failure as a disadvantage. I look at it as an advantage now. When you're failing, especially when you hit rock bottom, you have nowhere else to go but up. You'll start to surprise yourself. You'll start to see that there's a lot more in you than you even thought you had. Your mind starts to become that much more creative. Your work ethic is just off of the charts. Back then, I was maybe sleeping an hour to 2 hours a day. So when I finally had the right tools, I continued that cycle. And so the first year of our real estate business, building our real estate business, I was working 22 to 23 hours a day. And because I've already come from such a challenging moment, now I got the tools to get us out of this. I know that I can stay up, 22, 23 hours a day. Well, let me focus all of this energy into something productive. And that's what we did. And that, the first year that we started in April 2010. By December of 2010, we had already 36 properties under our belt.
Wow.
Yeah.
So April, that's 7 months? 8 months?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So four properties a month at least, minimum, a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Where'd you find the money?
We found the money through various sources, through networking, through the group that we had attached ourselves in. We started to network. We were taught on how to go and approach people, to leverage and partner, and to look for private money. We also utilized hard money lenders out there. And so we started using hard money lenders. We started to approach individuals who had money, either cash on hand, IRAs, 401ks. And so we learned to use raise private money. And so that's how we were able to raise the money to buy all these properties.
And I would imagine that skill set that you developed in 10 and 11 of raising money, you still use that skill set today?
Absolutely.
Yeah. In the business, you never stop raising money.
No.
Other
Once
people's
you learn
money.
to raise money, that you'll never stop.
Yeah, exactly. And it benefits these people, right? A lot of times people have extra money. They're from a different career. They're not in the real estate. They've earned their money, in other industries and other careers, and they're looking for a place to park their money that gets decent returns, and real estate's a natural answer for that.
Exactly.
So I think a lot of times newbies, they have people that are new in the business, they have that, they don't have that mindset where they understand you're actually doing someone else a really great service when you can park their money in your investment, work the investment, give them good returns, and do it again and again and again.
Exactly. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, theoretically it sounds good, but you got to put your foot out there and go ask people for money. Yeah, okay. And then but then between then and now, some other things happened to you. TV stars. Yeah, some other things happened. So, how did you come across that? First of all, tell us the station or the network that it was on and the show and that sort of thing. How'd you get that and so forth?
You can take that, Liz.
Well, we were starring in it was a flipping reality TV show on a Spanish network. Back then it was Mundos. It's now what is it?
Universal, NBC, something.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is now, but it was Mundos, and it just focused on Mark and I and our business partners back then, and the struggles that we would go through on a daily, with flips and just working with each other, and that whole it was the way that I see it. I'm like, I still can't believe that we actually do. When people tell me, "Hey, you're from that show," I'm like, "Oh yeah, I am." Yeah, I was on there. It was called Reinas de Realty. It was actually the fact that it was two women and then our husbands, and it focused more on the fact that the women were the stars of the show, and we were the ones that made more of the decisions, because at that time, while we were working with this other couple, the way the dynamic was that the women would find the properties and do all this stuff, and the men were actually in charge of the construction and doing more of that stuff. So it was a really fun show. It was a lot of fun. The way that we actually got approached to do this was just out of nowhere. It wasn't something that we were looking for. Mark and I were really focused on growing our business. And, to this day, that's our main focus, is leaving a legacy for our kids. So just growing our business. And the way that this just came to us, it was just, hey, we're looking for, it was it women in real estate or Latin women in real estate? I'm not sure.
There's a production company that they approached us, and we have met them through another source, and they came to us and they said, hey, we have an idea of a show we want to create, which will star two Latin women, and they're in the real estate business world. And so one thing led to another. We gave them a couple of names, not thinking of our wives. And they came back and they're like, well, don't your wives...
that point you made earlier just went away, dude.
Exactly.
You were on a roll.
I just lost my brownie point. So, it wasn't something that it wasn't part of the plan. It was never part of the plan to try to go after a TV show. We were so focused on the real estate business. But anyways, they came back to us and they said, well, don't your wives work with you? Like, oh yeah. So we ended up just giving them their information. I didn't even tell Liz about it. And they end up calling Liz and they start interviewing. She's like, "What is this about?" I was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I signed you up for this
For the show to be on TV, to be a face that everybody in the world will see."
I was like, what? Me on TV? No way.
And actually,
what did? Okay, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, and to be honest, Liz, when I first told her that I had signed her up, she's like, "I don't want to be on TV. I don't want to do that." And I was like, "Well, I think it'd be a good opportunity. It's a good marketing tool for the business."
Yeah.
And again with the business, and so I kind of twisted her arm into doing it.
He really, really did. He really, really did. I mean, as much fun as, I like to have at work, I was just like, what? On TV? Like people, being all up in my business. I just was not about that life. But, it really was such an amazing experience that we got to learn so much, not only about each other, but our business and just the amazing network that we were able to build through that. It was just all win-win, and it was such a fun time.
Great. And it gives you such credibility too, for more, to go find more money, more investors, more deals, helps your deal flow, helps your investor flow, right?
Absolutely.
And then your latest project?
So go ahead, Liz.
So again, after we had filmed that other show, and we weren't filming it anymore. Again, just out of nowhere, we were approached again by coincidence. A mutual person that was working for a production company. We were just talking, and we went out for drinks, and then what was it, like a few maybe weeks later, tells us, "Hey, we want to create something for a popular cable channel that would star a Latino couple that flips." And we're like, "What? Well, we do that, So we thought it was interesting because, again, it wasn't something that we were looking for, and again, I was a little weary because we had I told Mark, I think we're already past that. I don't know, but the opportunity was so great that we couldn't pass it up. And it happens that now we're going to be, it's a show starring just Mark and I, and it's on HGTV.
Nice.
So hopefully, that can come to fruition in the future.
Yeah. And that, would you recommend to anyone that they should go look for get a show?
According to what these production companies tell us, it's really hard to get a show. And actually, people will approach you, but to actually get it on TV, it can be a real, real challenge. And it's a lot more than people think, like, oh, you just, they just go and they just film you, and you just have to be fun and, stuff like that. Like, no, there's a lot more that goes into it. It is a lot of hard work, but like Mark said, it has been such a blessing for our business that if you want to expand your business, to network, to reach more people, all the viewers and all that, to help your business grow, then definitely I would say, try to do that. But just know that it's a lot of hard work. It's not as easy as everybody thinks to just get a show. Like, I could get a TV show. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. We've been blessed in that twice, now we've been approached to do this. So I don't know what it is. I think it's Mark, because he's just, so hot. So everybody just wants to see Mark on TV. I don't know what it is.
You're so in debt to her, dude.
Paul, don't point it out to him.
I think he knows. But, also along the way, too, you have mentored and coached and taught other people your strategies and the mindset and that sort of thing. What's that been like for you?
That's actually, it's been really good. It was something that I didn't know that I was passionate about until I started doing it. And I got the opportunity to travel across the country. And on this one occasion where I was doing it for a few years, where I would travel across the country, train people on how to start building their real estate business in their backyard. And it was really fun. I got to see most of the country, and not only that, meet some really cool people along the way. And it gave me the ability to go and analyze markets across the nation and really understand and really heighten my real estate education as well. So now Liz and I have been able to utilize that now, and we go into different markets wherever we see there's hot markets across the country, and depending on what market is gonna yield us the better opportunity for what it is that we're looking for at that particular time. Now we can do that.
And that's what took you to Chicago?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's, from what the conversation I've had with you, there's particular areas of Chicago that fit your business model, your business style.
Exactly.
And so, yeah. Okay. And then that's working out good for you?
It is. We've been here for close to 3 years now. Chicago is definitely a hard market. It's been making us work for it every inch of the way. It's a very tough market. There's a lot of opportunity here, but it is a very tough market.
You think everything that you've done up to now led you to be able to handle a tough market?
Oh, absolutely.
Couldn't have done it in 10 or 11.
No, not at all.
I'm not saying you couldn't have, but it would have been much, much more difficult, right?
I think we probably couldn't have. It's we were, it would have really just kicked us in the butt back then, because like Mark said, Chicago is it's a different type of beast when it comes to doing, any sort of flipping real estate there. And the fact that we have gone through all these learning curves definitely has saved us out there, because there's been other investors out there that we've known and we've heard about that have lost their pants in today's market. So definitely we've grown and we've learned so much from everything that we've experienced, that like how Mark said, we can't see it as a negative anymore, because it's molded us, it's made us who we are, and it's given us all the experience that we've needed to get to where we are today.
Yeah, great. It seems to me like your brains have been rewired to accept the challenges as learning experiences rather than failures.
Exactly.
And that's a lot of people don't ever get to that point. That a problem is always a problem.
Yep.
I have problems, and guess what you have? I have problems.
Yeah.
Whereas people that see things as challenges and learning experiences, totally different world for them.
Yeah.
Right?
And our motto is, you spend 1% on the problem and 99% on the solution. And a lot of people spend 1% on the solution and 99% on the problem. And they get overwhelmed with fear, and they keep focusing on the problem opposed to recognizing there's a problem and then coming up with a solution.
Yeah, whenever I do start panicking and I'm like, oh my God, there's this and there's this and there's this, Mark will be like, you're focusing on the problem. What's the solution? And, so again, that dynamic between him and I, where he can reel me back in when I'm about to, go off the edge, it's a blessing.
Nice. How is it working together, like overall? Like, have you ever wanted to just strangle each other?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, has she ever canceled your ticket to come back home?
I haven't gone that far, because.
And why is it working at this very moment? Why is it working at this very moment?
At this very moment, the fact that it's working, it's because he's in Chicago and I'm in LA. No, I can't. No, but really, even the long distance has become a challenge that we've been able to overcome. So again, something else on top of everything else we have going on that we need to deal with is the distance between us, because we flip in Chicago, but we live in Southern California. So we've had to deal with that as well.
Mm-hmm. Ever come a time when you were like, Go get a job. I'll be a mother. drive that truck off a cliff. Let's just quit.
Exactly. No, there's times where, jokingly, but sometimes I'm like, it would have been so much easier if I would have just went to go work for somebody. But I think that's it's part of the love of being an entrepreneur. Every day you're faced with new challenges and new victories, and no day is the same. So every day there's something new. So I feel privileged to be able to live a life where I don't feel like a robot. I just wake up and it's very routine, where I wake up and I know I'm going to do everything the same way and have the same outcome every day. Every day is a new challenge. And so I feel really privileged to be able to live a life like that.
Nice. It's all attitude. All attitude. So you've had the show. You got another show. You got different markets. You've coached. You've mentored. You're now in child number 5, right? Which is just like a year old or so, right?
Yeah, she's she's going to be 15 months. So
15. Well, congratulations.
Thank
you. And she probably knows how to do, an ARV and already, right?
She does know how to look through pictures and find ugly houses. Yes, she does.
Sweet.
One of the cool things that I feel, it's one of probably as Liz said, we're working on the business and we're focused on the real estate business to leave a legacy. But I think one of the biggest legacies that we're building for our kids is a different mindset. Yeah. And so one of the things, and I think it's a huge opportunity for our kids, is we've told them, go after a career that you love doing, not because of how much money it pays you. You're going to make your money off of real estate investing. We're showing them how to invest into real estate through various ways, through flips, building a rental portfolio, different things. So they know that they're going to make their money there. So now they're focused on going after a career path off of their sheer passion, not because they need to make X amount of money to live a lifestyle that they want. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that we've been able to give to our kids to the state. And our kids, like our 2 older ones, they're very focused. They're very focused on what they want to do. They're very sure about it. And our son right now.
What are their interests?
So our son wants to go into law enforcement, and he's going to college right now. He's taking criminal justice. And so he's, again, another thing is I always tell him, like, don't be afraid to fail. That's how we learn. So we encourage that, to go out there and put yourself out there. Our daughter wants to be a teacher. And so again,
well, not just a teacher. She wants to be an educator, she says, because she wants to be able to make a difference, not just be a teacher. She wants to be able to make a difference in the educational system for kids and be able to teach them things like, she says, like what we've taught her, where it's not just about, go to school and do this and be a robot, but actually have a mind and actually be able to express yourself and have your own opinions and, do things like that. So I'm very proud of our kids because like Mark said, they know what they want, which is, not the case for all of them because we have 5 kids and they're all extremely different, extremely different. But the first 2 so far, they know what they want and they know, they're ready for what's ahead and how they're going to get there. So it's exciting to see that. And like Mark said, I think it's I can't give credit to us because we have given them that mentality where if you really want to do something, you need to work for it. You need to go out and get it because nobody's going to do it for you. And so, that's what they're doing. So we're really, really proud of our kids.
Nice. Congratulations. That's the best education that you can give your kids.
Yeah.
The best education.
Yeah.
So what's next for you then?
I read in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and in there was a story and it talked about a wealthy man that would give his sons money and when they were in college, And in a couple of years, they dropped out and they became alcoholics. Whereas the young kid that went to college and had to pay his way through college and work his way through college was a guy who not only graduated honor roll, he became very successful at business. And the motto of that story was, don't ever take your kid's drive away. And so that's one thing that we tell our kids is whatever we're building, it's not going to be given to you. You got to earn it. And so we don't ever want to take our kids' drive away. And that's exactly what we try to continue to instill in them is like, nobody owes you anything in this world. So if you want something, you have to go work for it.
Old school, straight up parenting. Right? No entitlement there.
Mm-mm.
Everybody doesn't get a trophy.
Yep.
Yep.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think another thing too is like talking about education is, I know that we're not it's not a popular thing to say, but Liz and I really do believe in this. And this is exactly what I tell my kids. What we tell our kids is, I don't want them to go to college just for the sake of going to college. You know, you're going to go to college because it requires that education for your career path. But if you're going to go to college to go and goof around for 4 years and get a degree that you're not going to use, then I'm not going to pay for your college. Education is very important. And I think the educational system is that we're brought into, whether you go to private or public school, is never set up to help you become an entrepreneur. It's set up to be an employee. And so luckily enough, Liz and I have gained the knowledge now. We're a lot more financially savvy. We're entrepreneur savvy, where we can now educate our kids at home and say, okay, you go to school, you learn the fundamentals of education that you're going to need, the math and the history and all of those things that are important. But you're also going to learn this as well, because I want them to make sure that they go and clear a path for themselves, you know? So I think I hear it time and time again is like, well, get good grades so you can go to college. But they're never asking the kid, well, what do you want to do? What's your goal? And that's a big thing is goal setting, you know? People don't ever take the time to sit down and ask themselves, what do you want to do? What do you think your purpose and your purpose on this earth is for? You know, what do you want to do with your life? When you wake up in the morning, what do you feel that your true passion is? And I tell my kids, and that's one of the things that we've made our kids do. We sit them down and we say, I want you to think about what is it that you want to do? Not because of how much money it makes, but something that you're truly passionate about. And think about it. And that's what I want you to start working towards. And then I want you to make a plan to achieve that. So there's a difference between wishing and a goal. You start off with a dream and a wish, and then it becomes a goal when you put a plan of action behind it and you start working towards that.
Yep. Excellent. So what's next for you, real estate wise, in another 20 years? Or is it 19?
Well, for sure, no more kids.
Maybe.
Life's enough.
Right now, as far as our focus right now, we've been focusing a lot on flips, and I think our focus is starting to shift for a number of things. You know, the market is shifting, where we are in our lives, what we want to do, what we want to start to focus our time and efforts on. And so right now we've been focusing, and we've done really well doing flips. We really want to start getting into like rental portfolios, rental properties, the commercial game, things of that nature. So we want to start shifting our time and focus and attention towards that way.
Good. Building that residual income.
Exactly.
Cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you've got what it takes to get there, to be there. Thanks to Liz.
Yeah.
You're right. You're so right. I was going to say that, but I thought he said it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of understood, but I went ahead and brought it out. Yeah, great. Well, listen, I thanks for stopping in and taking the time, and I know you're both busy, and I know you separate parts of the country for the moment, and it's very 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 kind of you to do this interview, and what a great story. And of course, I've known you for a while, and I think a couple of things that stand out to me, and that is humility. When someone's not willing to learn, they have a false ego. And so a really big false ego. It's okay to have a healthy ego and confidence and that kind of thing, but when you're just resistant to learning or accepting knowledge or listening to a mentor or reading and studying books and material, then that's going to stand in your way your entire life, right? So my observation or my experience of both of you is your willingness to learn and your willingness to accept mentorship and take risks and take risk and learn, learn from the failings. And so when you get way down the other side, and you're in your on your porch in your rocking chair and you look back at this, right? I hope those are the things that you look back at, as well as the really great example that you set with your kids, because that's your biggest legacy. So yeah, appreciate you coming by. And for any of you watching that you want to leave a comment in the thread below, do that. I'll post some links below on where to see Mark and Liz and how to follow them. And I don't know, you got anything else? Do you have any other words of wisdom you want to share? Because
I do, actually.
Oh, you do, actually.
I was just thinking about this. What it all boils down to is because Liz and I are huge Rocky fans. Rocky said something. He says it doesn't matter how many times life hits you and knocks you down. It's how many times you get back up and keep fighting.
Exactly.
Nice. Very nice. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for getting back up. Hey, a lot of fun seeing you guys.
Thank you for having us on, Paul. You're awesome.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you on another episode soon.
You guys take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneurial Genius. To learn more, visit paulmontalongo.com. If you've enjoyed the episode, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. And please share with your friends. Thanks again, and we'll be back soon with a new episode.